right, here we are looking at 4-5, example number 1. So my first step says to distribute, and I can see that I have this 7 over here on the outside of this parenthesis that needs to be distributed. Now remember, it's only getting distributed to the pieces on the inside. So I am going to multiply 7 times x. Notice how I don't write both of those little arrows until after I do the multiplication. It helps you to not forget that. But now I also need to multiply that 7 by the negative 4, which gives me a negative 28. 7 times 4 is 28. That minus 7 on the outside does not get multiplied by the 7 because it's not in the grouping. It's not inside those parentheses. So we're just going to carry the rest of my equation down. Okay, so next, that second step tells me to combine like terms here. So I do have some like terms to combine. I have that negative 28 minus 7 that I can put in my calculator and get a value for. Negative 28 minus 7 ends up being a nice negative 35. And then carrying everything else down. Ooh, I am always forgetting perpetually to draw that line down the center there at the equal sign. Even though there's not the same number of pieces on each side, we're still considering the equal sign to be the middle of the equation. That's still the line where you need to make sure you're doing the same thing to both sides. So step 3 tells us to isolate the x term. So which piece has the x in it? That would be the 7x. So getting that alone would mean dealing with that negative 35. The opposite of a negative 35 or an opposite of subtraction of that 35 would be an addition or plus 35 to both sides. Okay, so now I'm just going to do a little two-step equation stuff here. My negative 35 and positive 35 cancel out like I wanted it to. My 7x carries down. And then over here on the right-hand side, I'm just doing 35 minus 7 or negative 7 plus 35, either way. And that's giving me 28. Last thing to deal with is that 7 that's preventing my x from being alone. 7 is being multiplied by x, so I'm going to do the opposite of multiplication and divide both sides by 7. 7 divided by 7 cancels out to be 1, and my x carries down. 28 divided by 7 is 4. So x is equal to 4. And then that leaves our check. Remember, your steps to check can be found in 4-1 or 4-2. Hopefully you've got the checking process down at this point because we're on the 5th lesson. If not, just go back and use those steps, rewriting the original and so on and so forth. So first step of my check is, like I said, to rewrite that original problem. So 7 parentheses x minus 4 minus 7 equals negative 7. Excuse me. Next step is to rewrite it again, but everywhere you see a variable this time, you're just going to put in your answer, which was 4. And again, we're following order of operations here. So order of operations says groupings come first, which would be here. 4 minus 4 is just 0, so nothing really fancy there. Multiplication comes before any subtraction, so 7 times 0 turns into 0. Minus 7. And finally, 0 minus 7 is just plain old negative 7, which is equal to negative 7, which does check out, which proves our answer is muy bien.